Hey everybody, here it is, Sunday evening, 11 o'clock, about my bedtime. We finally got the table back together, got all the axes calibrated, so now we're just sitting here running a little file, just watching it work a little bit. Nice and smooth. It's a whole lot quieter than the other disaster casters were. I hear some vibrations here and there. Probably just a few things on the table vibrating, but calibrated the motors and found out that the other motors were having to turn about 20 to 30 extra steps to get 1 inch. So, needless to say, when we changed the motors out, we had to recalibrate because we were going over 1 inch. So we got all the axes redone. We haven't put anything back up on the Z carriage yet. We haven't wired any hard limits. We've got soft limits set. And we're just running this little file here now to let the machine work a little bit. I want to see how all these motors work together. They're just they're not even warm. I'm talking not even warm. The UC100 is doing a pretty good job. I had an issue with it, Max. My dog, he bumped into this little miniature USB output on this thing and messed up the shell in there a little bit. So it lost its ground, so I squeezed it back together with a pair of pliers and made it a little bit tighter, and it was still insufficient, so I got the old toothpick, something that wouldn't short out or ground out, and I put one little piece on each side, and I put this sledgehammer down here on the ground and thumped it a couple times in front of the dogs, and they respected that. Hit the drill motor a couple times. He'll still clear the area for a while. I had planned, I've got some polycarbonate, Lexan actually is what it is, some clear Lexan, and I was going to make a little clear cover for that hinged open and closed that would protect it from fallout from the table, from dust, and now from another unforeseen obstacle, the animals. So, when you got a 120-pound dog and he's probably got 20 pounds of tail, it only took a couple of smacks on it before it just popped out, or till it just, I saw the lights go out. I knew it was toast. So it's probably the cheesiest little miniature USB output port made, period. Golly, I mean, it's I'd unplug it, but I'm afraid to right now. I love the way it works. I had set my table up to run an XP machine with another old computer, and when they decided they were going to stop supporting XP, I decided to move ahead, and this was one way past it. I didn't want to bring a bug into the system, and computers are always needing updates. Even old ones still need driver updates, BIOS updates. etc. Bill files that just seem to go away, need to be replenished, and so I didn't want that mess, but this has worked great. It was the easiest thing in the world to hook up to Mach 3. You didn't have to change anything in the setup, configuration, or anything. It just picked up everything verbatim as it was. I'll pill around a little bit with the hertz scale on this thing, and I changed it one time to 45 hertz and put Mach 3 on 50 hertz, and I didn't see any difference whatsoever. I mean, I think this Mach 3 is 25 hertz period, if I understand it correctly, but maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, but I haven't tried it with everything the way it is now, and I might do that one day, just bump them both back up and then restart Mach and power back up and see if it makes any difference, if it sounds any better in the motors. As usual, I think, and I've heard this talked about on the forums out there in the Yahoo groups, that in the tuning pods on these things, people are always concerned because they're always having to turn the pods all the way to the left. Nothing seems to be any better anywhere else. And I think if you're going to run 3.5 amp motors, which is what I'm running now, and which I've actually always run, that's been the case. When I ran my 370 ounce motors up here, my 3 amp motors, 370 ounce 3 amp motors, I could actually tell a difference that I didn't have to run that pod quite wide open. So I don't know if that's an indication or if that just happened to be how it worked out for me, but that information might help somebody out in the future. Don't freak out if it doesn't get any different. You know, turn the pod all the way. If it's where it runs the best, that's where you want to leave it. Don't worry about it. Tune your motors and then do your calibration. That's the best way. Don't do it vice versa. I think when I pulled my Gecko out of the box, I think the pods were already turned up within just a skosh of being wide open on each one of those spots as well. And I'm almost a believer that all that is voltage limitation. So I haven't read documentation on exactly what that does, but I'm tempted to break out the old tester here one of these days and see if let's see what we got here. That's the AC amp probe, but I don't have a DC amp probe. I need to get one so I can hook into my meter. That'd be cool to tie it in line with the motor and check the different phases and see what the actual draw is, if it's getting 3.5 amps. And also if it's getting 3.5 amps when more than one motor's running at the same time. I believe Gecko's pretty reliable. It's been a joy working with them. But here you have it, guys and gals. The table is up and running. It's calibrated. I got to do limit switches. I got to put some bumper stops on here, just for hard stops, just in case. You never know when a train might come through here and knock everything off the track. So we kind of prepare for that. I'd rather recalibrate than crash off the rail. So anyways, here we go. The disaster caster disaster is finally over, and we're already thinking about making another Z-axis carriage, since we made this one initially to adapt to that carriage. We're thinking now of making the whole thing inverted so that it can be more like one of these carriages, just one piece coming off the rail and everything will hook to that, and that would sure enough eliminate a lot of excess material there. So I can see, 6 inches of 1/2 inch stock, 5 inches wide, that doesn't need to be there anymore. So it would have to be engineered a little bit different. I think the wheels would all have to be inverted. I think the rollers would have to be much wider on the carriage, on the gantry, and able to leave a spot back to back from there to mount another set of rollers that would in turn move the Z plate. So it would be an interesting situation. Anyways, it's time for me to go. Hope you guys have a great evening. See you next time. Enjoy your CNC. Give me a thumbs up. Hurry back.